Since Carrie will be feeding all of my fish, I will let her decide which tank eats first.
I'm the most excited to feed the piranha tank starting
Everybody's
first.
so darn excited to feed them. Okay.
I've never kept piranha, so I am curious.
I will. It is the first fish I ever kept in my life. But before you feed the piranha, I'm going to get you to feed something else.
Okay.
That is a secret fish. Every time I go to the pet store now, I'm on a lookout for new fish for the 2,000-gallon aquarium. It's not easy to find a big, colorful fish that's dropped off and or even bring them into a fish store that you're actually willing to put into a tank as big as mine and have everything get along. I saw these guys, and I'm not necessarily a massive fan of parrotfish. However, I believe these guys are King Kongs, which makes their mouths a little less deformed. And similar to, let's say, the mammon fish, the red mammon. Have you ever seen the red mammon?
Mm-mm.
Ooh,
Mm-mm.
That's something for you guys at home to Google. Mm-hmm. Google the red mammon fish and tell me that is the coolest parrot fish looking. The upside is they do not lose their coloration over time like the common parrotfish does. They don't turn pink or anything. They stay red. They only get redder with time. They have zero deformities, and they get a lot bigger. These guys were dropped off and probably raised on pellets, and on my diet of shrimp and all different types, and of course pellets as well, I believe they're gonna not only keep their coloration, but they're gonna do absolutely fantastic in the 2000. I also think we have a pair on our hands. They're incredibly friendly.
Excited.
But they're probably not used to this type of a diet. They're not used to this food. Mm-hmm. A lot of my fish are not used to a lot of people being around either. Yes. Obviously, it's usually just me, and it's only been this year where I've kind of opened the gallery and let people come over, and pretty cool, aren't they?
Yes.
You can see the female and the males, the mouths are somewhat different. I think they're going to do great in the 2000.
They catch your eye immediately. They're so colorful.
Well, when it comes to monster fish, a lot of the times we have grays and greens and maybe some oranges. It's very uncommon to have a monster tank and have some like truly individual colored fish that are incredibly bright, but they're going to do really well in there. I was actually going to drive down to New York to go to Monster Aquarium in New York to buy some red mammons, and I'm glad I picked these guys up. I think these drop-off fish are always almost... This is a feeding video, and these guys didn't even eat, so that's fantastic. Also, I'm burning a video that I was going to do about these guys, and I'm telling the story for you and your viewers, so if you guys like, I need a lot of likes. I'm like Tinkerbell. Give me the likes, and I'll tell you more, and I'll tell you more secrets.
I'll sprinkle fairy dust on you so let the secrets come out.
Please. It's the only validation I get
Let
anymore.
me have all the secrets.
Yeah. But drop-offs, I got them for $20.
Yes.
And so obviously, I couldn't say no. So with the piranha tank, they should eat. But last time we had somebody here, they wouldn't eat in front of everybody. I don't know why. I don't fat shame them or anything. I do that to Tyrese. I do not do it to the piranha. They should eat if you drop it in. You're going to need a heck of a lot more. So there's about 30 in there. And they'll eat as much as you can, as much as you put in almost.
Okay.
One of the things you might want to do is instead of, I'm going to let you actually enjoy watching them eat and see the fury and just kind of like enjoy it as opposed to just working here the whole time.
I mean, there's not really too many words to properly explain this when you see it in person. It's cool in the videos, but
everything's cool and better in person, and
I've waited a long time to see this.
Technically, what you mean is I'm way cooler in person.
Well,
with that said, you have these plants at home
I do.
too, some cryptocorin species. Do they look like in your tank, or is
they're I would say yours is more grown in because mine's in a 10-gallon guppy tank. So
mine are better?
Yours is better. I'm not going to say that again. And then Java moss, I have that in my tank. I have it attached to driftwood pieces, and then I have some dwarf sage right here. I have that also in my
Now,
guppy
do you
tanks.
see it keeping like this for the most part? And this is low light, but then, I don't know if you remember, but this plant right here, it grew to the top of the tank.
Yes.
That is the mother plant. It's not the original mother plant. It became one of them. But you can see some of the dwarf sage is like growing.
Yeah.
This tank is 28 inches tall. I expect dwarf sage to stay like this, and that's why it's planted near the front and where it is, but it started getting out of hand. Everything that gets in this aquarium gets out of hand incredibly quickly. The benefit is I don't do anything about it. I don't do water changes. I top off the water. Every once in a while, I've recently cleaned it for the first time in a year, but it was mostly just tidying it up. But as you can tell, it's gone back to the way it was. It doesn't, I think moving forward, I'm just going to let this aquarium go crazy.
Yes.
And let it overgrow.
I think it's cool that I do have something in common, even like I don't have piranha, but I do have some similar tank or plants.
Well, all aquariums are linked in one way or another. At the end of the day, absolutely every aquarium hobbyist is a glorified bacteria keeper.
It's hard to look at something so cool fish related and talk and think of words.
Not
this
me.
is cool.
I love it. I'm most passionate and most intelligent when I'm around fish. It's the only thing that I love, the only thing that I know anything about. But on the topic of big fish and big tanks, you could probably do the 2000, but you'll have to also do the customary hand feeding. I think Carrie's a good bite size yourself, so why don't you just get in? I bet the arowana will eat you.
I have a silver arowana at home, and no matter how many times I feed it, it'll still gets me.
These guys have their teeth are a lot different. The thing I like about this aquarium is it's just so cohesive. Everything works. Everything in here is not supposed to work, but it is. And when we add in the parrots, we're going to add in a new splash of red. I don't know how the Asian arowana will react, but he didn't do anything to the other Oscars didn't do anything either.
Yes.
But we also have some Severums in here. We only have 2 out here right now, but there's another pair in there, and I bet you they're in there somewhere laying eggs.
I was surprised by how much I knew I would like these guys, but I was surprised. I really like
the
that
Severum is up there with Discus, similar requirements, similar water requirements. Waru, Severums, Discus all kind of come from the same area. You'll also remember, not right this second, but over the last little while, you'll have remembered that there was also Bichers, well, one Bicher as well as a Sunshine Pleco in here.
They make an appearance from time to time.
Yeah. This tank is, well, the Sunshine Pleco is coming out right now. You might be wondering, why is there a Pleco? Why is there such a variety of fish and you're only feeding the same food? Everybody in here is on the same diet. The parrotfish will come in here once they are readily accepting and going crazy for the foods that everybody else in here does. If I add them any time sooner, they're going to starve themselves. This guy here was not eating fresh foods at first. He would only accept pellets, but that's what most fish in the hobby do at first. I like to feed a bit of a variety. On camera, for the most part, I feed my homemade do-it-yourself foods because it is bigger, it's chunkier, it's easier to see. But a lot of the times I also feed pellets. And these are the 3 pellets that I'll give them. So arowana food, which is sticks for the arowana. Sinking carnivore pellets, which are a lot bigger for a lot of the bottom feeders, but also everybody eats it. And we can't give them too much carnivore of a diet. I also stick in some kelp wafers, more of a disc. I do this just to keep the diet varied and keep it as a variety. And I don't think people do that enough in terms of feeding a true variety. A lot of the times we'll get a really good food and offer just that.
I'm surprised how many fish like these type of wafers.
Well, you just read the ingredients. They're very similar to absolutely everything else.
They're awesome.
The ingredients, the first ingredients on this is, and then this one is
they go
Atlantic
crazy
krill or kelp, and then krill meal. Very similar, except the first ingredient is going to be kelp. Kelp's a power food. People eat kelp.
My guppies, my plecos, my shrimp, the low everybody enjoys
The downside to feeding this tank is when the rays were in it, you couldn't overfeed this tank. You could feed them and feed them and feed them, and if they don't eat it, the rays will. The Oscars will eat a piece or two. The arowana will eat whatever he can get into his mouth. There he goes again. He's already had his share, but he's going to continue. Yeah, they'll store food in their mouth too.
I'm just
ridiculous.
saving it for later.
Yeah.
He likes to snack.
Certainly does. It's my favorite thing to do, obviously. I'd love to say, and I think that I'm only trying to be relatable, like my favorite thing to do is feed my fish. Of course we do. My favorite thing to do is when I see my fish and I see how healthy they are and how well they're doing. That's likely the most rewarding feeling in the hobby. I'm not sure how everybody else feels, but feeding fish is fun. Feeding monster fish is fun if there's people around because they splash and they go crazy. I'd rather feed like little micro tiny fish. I'm discovering that I love doing that now, including guppies, which I'll do in a little bit. But for me, feeding these monsters is fun when people are here, but it's not fun to always get wet and soaked and water everywhere. But these guys are starving. They're looking actively for food because both of these tanks are connected.
They can taste it from there.
Yeah. You could dump all of that in there and a lot of this in here.
The juice too?
Yeah, yeah. They got a lot. What is that, mussels?
Looks like it.
I'm going to give them a little something else just to make sure their diet today is a little different.
This is what I was surprised by most watching them. I knew they were good eaters, but when they puff up like that,
They're on top of
They're
each other.
awesome, yeah.
Well, one of the things that irritates me the most about stingrays is like, just get off of each other. The food's everywhere. I promise you, you're in my tank. There's gonna be enough food for everybody. But it seems to me as though they insist on jumping all over each other and just being the little water pancakes that they are.
they just suck it in.
Yeah. They'll continue to eat all day. There's options in terms of feeding these guys. It's probably better to, when you're trying to breed stingrays, to feed them 2 to 3 times a day as opposed to one big meal.
Yeah.
And that's something I really have to get up on top of, is feeding the gallery more than once a day. But for the most part, they're only all eating once a day.
She's a pretty lady.
I have an interesting thing to say and ask of you.
Okay.
And I don't know if your viewers can do it.
Okay.
How many likes does your videos typically get?
Like 25?
25 likes. If this video gets 250 likes, I will send you the video for you to show them of you touching the electric eel. Some of you guys don't even remember that when Katie was here from Australia, we talked about if your video gets 5,000, 10,000 likes, you'll touch the electric eel. No matter what, she refused.
She booped it.
Through the water. But Carrie, when I was explaining, because I touched the electric eel, when I was explaining to her what it was like and how, like as a true fish keeper, she was like, I gotta touch it.
I gotta do it.
I need to feel this. I gotta feel it. And I was like, a little worried about her because, well,
I'm
Carrie's a little one. And I'm like, well, the shock.
Someday I'll grow. Someday I'll reach the bottom of my tank.
So I was worried, like if you touch it, well, I don't want to ruin too much, but
No.
Carrie did touch it.
Leave the likes, you'll find out.
There was some complications, however, 250 likes, and I will send Carrie the video. I have it on my phone.
There's
but,
proof. I really did it.
So here's the electric eels food for today.
Do you want me to put it in the sand or just put it?
I like to just drop it in the sand, yeah. So even though I put sand all throughout this tank, I had, I wouldn't go that close to him.
Oh, okay.
He knows the food's in there now. Even though I put in all this sand, and I put in some PVC pipes and places for him to hide and all these other areas, he is more active without anything in there besides a few plants. His eyesight is so horrible that when he's sending off these electrical signals, trying to navigate throughout everything, he's far more happy knowing that there's less in there and able to bounce off the signals to find the food. He has a massive a massive appetite, and you would think that he'd eat it all and it'd fill up his whole body. His stomach is near the top of his head.
You can kind of see where
Yeah.
it's pooched out.
So technically my eel is fat, but he's not actually fat throughout his entire body. He's quite slim, but he's also technically not an eel. This is a knife fish.
I had a black featherfin knifefish for a while, and it's definitely, they swim.
So he's still looking for the food, and as you can tell, they do not have good eyesight because
No.
It's brown sand, it's white shrimp. Like, bro, it's right there. He can't see it. So he's going off based off electrical signals. The more stuff that's in there, the more things that the electrical signals have to bounce off of, like sonar, and the more difficult it is going to be to find his food. But you'll notice a lot of people are like, oh, put more stuff in there, or he needs hiding places. No, it's just going to make it more complicated. The less I had in there, the more eager he is to eat, and the easier it is for him to find it.
He seems just to like to lay on the plants you have.
Yeah, he just lies around for most of the day.
Swims around.
To be honest with you, though, I don't turn the lights on unless I need to see him or film him. For the most part, I leave the lights off. I find ambient lights is enough for me to see him. His eyesight is so bad that I feel like when I turn the lights on, it might be freaking him out a little bit. But
it's too bright.
Yeah, and then you'll need a stool for this.
Yes.
Like the little carry stairs. I need them too sometimes. So he's got a bit of a lid here. I'll just push it back. Tyrese is a relatively good eater. It depends on his mood and depends on how much activity is going on in the gallery. But he eats like a nice little handful. One of the things that it's very easy to do with puffers, though, is overfeed them. And I find too many people overfeed them. A pufferfish should be shaped like a torpedo. They should be rather slender and slim. When you get a large, kind of a puffer that its abdomen is bigger than its head, that's an overweight fish. A lot of people will say, oh, he's just healthy, he eats, I feed him really good. You've probably cut his lifespan in half.
It's just like any other animal. You don't want to overfeed any animal. You want to keep them on a healthy diet, and same with fish.
Well, the other problems with puffer fish is, of course, what they get their name from. They puff.
They puff,
And even if not stressed, even if not being attacked, they still practice.
They kind of?
Yeah. They're stretching.
Yeah.
And if we're if we're overfeeding continuously and constantly, and they are overweight, they have a more difficult time stretching, and because of that, it stresses them out. And pufferfish retain stress. I think you did some stressors with guppies during your university years and your thesis. Stress can be, over time, incredibly difficult and hard on a puffer.
I haven't had one like this, but I've had pea puffers, figure 8 puffers, and green spotted puffers throughout the years.
Well, the Fahaka is considered a large freshwater puffer, but it's like a puffer if you got a 75-gallon, 100-gallon. Now, this is only a 60-gallon. I do not recommend you get a 60-gallon, unless, of course, it's diluted through a 220-gallon system. All the tanks here are diluted and connected together, all towards this 40-gallon sump right here. The same goes for the saltwater system, except it also has another 70-gallon tank on the side that it's connected to. Now, for your guppies that you are most well known for, and arguably probably YouTube's leading expert on, especially since it's one thing, because you are very humble. I read your book. You have zero reason to be humble, but that's a personality trait of yours.
It is.
I call it Carrie's toxic trait.
That's why I'm friends with you.
Yeah. So get up on your stool, little Carrie. Do you want me to pick you up? No, you good? I'll stop with the little jokes. You give them whatever you think. So this is just the spirulina brine shrimp mix. These guys will typically, of course, get pellets like any other guppy, but my preference is to let people spoil my fish when they're here, and then when it's just me, I just want to make sure they eat for you, because it is difficult for them with cameras, lights, 3-4 people standing around type of deal. And I don't have any pants on, so it could be incredibly difficult for these guys to even accept food. So
I love your females. You don't normally see females like that, and you have
I love my female too.
multiple ones like that. They're so pretty.
Yeah, I see a bunch of pregnant ones too. Kara, how do we know that they're pregnant in the first place?
I would look for their gravid spots by their anal fin. You'll see it like, slow down. I'm trying to show you.
Guys.
This one, that dark spot by their belly, that will darken up.
Now, can I just squish the babies out like a pimple?
No.
Okay.
Don't do that. But they do have them about every 30 days. So if you have males and females, chances are you'll have fry soon.
Did you feel like you gave them enough?
I can always give them more. They're always hungry.
I only asked that because I would have given more.
I I don't like to overfeed my fish.
Yeah, okay, Carrie, now do you feel like you gave them enough?
I do.
Okay, now we're going to move into arguably the most fascinating aquarium in the aquarium gallery, and that is a freshwater planted tank. None of this, come on down here with us, none of this is technically plants. It's all macroalgae. Very simple, very easy to keep, the very basic of lights. You'll notice that I also have, you can go ahead and feed at any time. You'll also know that the fish in there almost like are glowing blue. A lot of the times, look at Sebastian coming out. A lot of the times, saltwater fish just look absolutely glowing and beautiful, but of course that's the lighting, and the coral and plants a lot of the times, even in algae, require more of a red and blue spectrum, so it kind of casts onto the fish. But in here is the green chromis, more of a fluorescent green. There's also a lone clownfish that was getting attacked in the colony, so I moved him over here. But everything in here is cheap. So if you were to go visit a true saltwater hobbyist, they'll have a sump, and a lot of times they have a refugium, and the refugium is typically used for nutrient export, meaning that they're putting in algae, macroalgae, and that sort of thing to absorb nitrates and other nutrients from the tank. And they look at algae as like just algae. I look at it like, damn, that kind of looks like, I don't know, some sort of a Java moss or maybe some form of like a small freshwater plant. And this, of course, looks like spiral Valisaria. I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool? And obviously, I'm not the first to ever do this, but wouldn't it be cool to do an algae tank? And then we stock it like a freshwater tank. And what do we put in freshwater tanks a lot of times? Tetras. We just slam them full of tetras a lot of the times. 100 neons or cardinal tetras.
Yes.
Very classics. One of the top selling fish of all time in the aquarium hobby. And I thought this is the closest thing to it. The chromis is a hardy, peaceful fish. They only get about 2 to 3 inches. And maybe about $3 to $5 in price. And hopefully that price stays like that. But that's the entire theme of the saltwater system, is everything in here is incredibly simple and easy to keep using freshwater methods. The anemone, we know about anemones and clownfish. Some of the clownfish, I've got like a little cave so that we get back there behind the background at this point. But if you get, there you go. If you get enough in there, that'll be fine. Well, you'll notice that the anemones, if the clowns don't feed them, watch this one especially at the top, they will grab the food. And you see like the little slits in the center of the anemones?
Yeah.
They'll take their little feelers
There's probably got one
and
right
stick it in their own mouths.
there. Yeah, it's got one. That's cool.
So these are the bubble tip anemones,
Yeah.
incredibly cheap, affordable, and you might notice also that the lights kind of look like freshwater lights. Oh,
Yeah.
little crab. He might be getting eaten by the anemone. Just a second here. Let me see. Oh, no, that's not crab. I thought you were looking at crab.
No, he's just got the food.
Yeah, they just grab it and stuff it in their mouth. Now, when the anemones are ready to grow or get bigger, of course, they'll get bigger in size. I probably need a little bit more flow in this tank, but of course, these tanks are relatively new and I haven't really been doing a whole lot with them. However, when they're ready to grow, they'll split in half and you'll have two. If they don't like where the light is or the flow is, they'll go somewhere else. They can move off.
Yeah. That's cool.
Very
There
interesting
he
stuff.
is. There's the crab. He's coming out.
Yeah, so he molted. There's his carcass. That's the worst part about shrimp and crabs
Yes.
in the hobby, is like every once in a while they'll come out to your aquarium and there'll be like a dead body.
Yep. And you're like, oh no, for a second. And then
Yeah.
you're like, nope, you're okay.
Yeah.
You're just growing.
So the next tank is, okay, you're scared of the anemones, maybe you don't like clownfish that much. The Duncan coral is incredibly similar to it, except they're not venomous. These operate on heads as well, but can't move. They'll stick to a surface, you'll stick them to a surface, and they will shoot off new heads every once in a while, but they'll eventually take over this entire aquarium. Very cheap, very effective, very foolproof, and very simple to keep. On the floor of the tank is my favorite coral, the pulsing xenia. This also will take over your aquarium as if it's Java moss. Once it's in there, good luck getting it out. If you're not getting it for free, go find a different friend. If you are going to a pet store and you see it, expect to pay like this whole bunch here, maybe $3.
Wow.
Same with the Duncans, they're not cheap. Per head, maybe $3 to $4 or $5, depending on the Duncan you're getting. But all of this in here is cheap, affordable, and easy to keep. And then we have a coral beauty in there as well, which is a dwarf angelfish. So in here, the Duncans don't typically, they don't eat like everybody else. That should be good. We're just kind of feeding the coral beauty.
Hungry.
The Duncans can eat it. They also have heads. Coral are alive, but you don't need to feed them. I like to feed, well, see with Duncans and anemones and the macroalgae that we've seen so far, and a lot of people are going to love this, but the dirtier your tank is, the better they're going to do.
Yeah.
Everything in these tanks are filter feeders. Besides the macroalgae, they eat from the water column. These guys will eat from the water column and grow from it, but also for the most part, eat whatever you give them. Now you can see some of these anemones now are kind of closing up. Some of them already got the food processed to their heads. And it looks like in the centers, you can no longer see the slit. It's more of a big translucent bubble.
Yeah.
They're trapping the food and moving it into it.
Yeah, that was a faster process than I was expecting.
Can you see why they're called bubble tip anemones?
Yeah.
Over here, we don't have much in it. We have we had, an urchin. A black long-spined urchin up there. We don't feed him. What we do is we starve him. No, he is an algae eater, and he's going to go nuts for it. Everything in there. He's not venomous, but you don't want to kind of poke him. He runs around the tank and just eats all the algae. Hopefully he doesn't eat this kind, but we also have some turbo snails in here. If I feed this tank, he'll eat the food before he eats the algae.
Yeah.
So my goal with this tank is, I'm not sure, but I seen the urchin and I wanted it, so I got him and put him in here. I don't know what I'm doing with this tank just yet. I don't know what I'm doing with this tank just yet. I don't know what I'm doing with that tank just yet.
It's more active than I was expecting.
Yeah, they move around. You can go ahead and, these guys won't be out just right yet, but you can go ahead and feed the rest of that to these guys. There's actually quite a few fish in here. This is my lake tank of Frontosa and shell dweller tank. That was way more in there than I thought.
You said all of it.
They should eat it, but I think we just scared all the Frontosa away. We might have to
give them a few feet.
Yeah, but we have African shell dwellers in here. We have Frontosa. Here they come now. One of the interesting things about Frontosa is they will sift through the sand as well, picking up through the food, seeing if they like it. That's why the sand is so clean. They'll and moved around. They'll sift through it. They'll take a bite of the sand, take whatever they want out of it. So I'm not too concerned with overfeeding this tank.
This tank surprised me. I like all of the aquariums, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't expecting to like this one so much.
That's cool, huh?
Yeah, I have to sit back a little bit, but they all come out if you are just still for a while.
Some Frontosa are like that, some are not. These guys used to never be skittish. I think what the problem with this tank is all these boulders are hollow and they can hide under them and get under them. And if given the opportunity of, would you rather come out and look at the humans and get used to that, or go hide under these rocks, they're going to choose to hide under these rocks.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's happened to them, because they used to always be out, but they never had those types of hiding spaces. They were forced to kind of interact with us.
Well, given a choice, I would rather cocoon too and not interact with people.
We also have a tremendous amount of betas, but Tamara is setting up I don't want to say how many tanks, but I will say this. Tamara, I gave her a couple of 180-gallon aquariums not too long ago down in my basement, and she wanted to do a beta community. It turns out I'm not so sure she's understood betas as much as once she started to get them. She knows they're probably going to hide, and having so many might not turn out that well. So I was like, well, do you want to do a bunch of smaller tanks? And she said yes. I was not ready for how many she wanted. If I could count them on two hands, I would.
She wants all of them, and I didn't help because I got to go shopping too.
But so far, she's bought 5 betas, and she's taking over my 12 tanks that I have set up and kind of waiting for me to go shopping. But that's something that I'm really excited about lately is like, I have so many empty tanks now. And I don't know how many's going to be out here, maybe 30 or 40. But every time I go to the fish store now, I think I am the coolest person walking because now I have a spare tank to put something in if I see it. Instead of, maybe it's not cool. I'm back to being irresponsible and impulse buying a tremendous amount of things that, but I have so many tanks to put them in now, and I don't need to cycle through a bunch of stuff. And
you have the room and no one to tell you no.
Yeah. What did you think about feeding everybody?
It's great. This was the part I was looking forward to the most. I was really looking forward to feeding all the fish.
Yeah.
I like looking at them. They are all beautiful, but watching fish eat, that's the best part.
So imagine Jesse's in the house or Jesse's doing whatever, and then you have your own little aquarium gallery. I gotta go feed the fish, and it takes 25, 35 minutes. Oh, I gotta do my water change.
Yeah.
This, you can live out here.
Yeah.
I think you would be out in your own aquarium gallery, and I hope someday you get to. And only one of the only ways you could ever get to that end goal, if you ever want to put like a building on your property, is Carrie's going to need you to subscribe. Carrie's going to need you to buy her book. Carrie's going to need you to comment and like. Comment and liking and subscribing is all free. If you want to further support her, do it. You guys did this for me, and look what I did for the last 6 years. I did everything I said I would do. And now it's other people's turns, and I'm trying to get as many hobbyists that I believe in that don't necessarily have gotten the chance to get put in the spotlight, and we're doing it today. But if you want to see Carrie be successful and her live her best life and kind of want to see what she would do with her own gallery, make sure you subscribe, make sure you support her ongoing. And if not, I'm coming to get you. And I'm going to take your fish and put it in my tanks, and you're not... No, maybe I shouldn't do those types of threats. Okay, you close out your video. I'll stop threatening your fans.
I just invite you to come along with the journey. It's going to be more fun with you here, and we're going to unlock some secrets together. So like the video.
Or I'm going to get you.
Yes. Bye.